All right, so we're gonna make this a quick one. We told you we keep you guys updated with information as we had coming out. Well, the last couple of days, we've been gathering a little bit of information specific to certain departments. So recently, about 2 days ago, there was an anonymous reporting for the U.S. Treasury, specifically IRS employees. It looks like the U.S. Treasury is starting to crack, specifically the IRS, the snitching as far as what's going on behind closed doors is starting. If you've been paying attention to the news, you've even seen the IRS starting to work out a deal with Homeland Security to start giving up that information on the immigrants who have been paying taxes. We'll talk more about that in a second. Generally, they like to keep closed lip about everything. They try to keep it up to upper management, but apparently somebody from upper management didn't really sit too well with them. So this is what we currently have. If you work for the U.S. Treasury, specifically the IRS, the date given by the anonymous person was to begin April 15th. We've seen the news report, the article that I believe came out, it was on Yahoo News reported. The date has been pushed to May 15th, which is specific because we all know if you work at the IRS that if you took deferred resignation and you were part of Mission Critical, you weren't allowed to leave until May 15th. So that's important. So coinciding with that date with deferred resignation employees who qualified for it and took it will be leaving on May 15th. If they were Mission Critical, they will also be leaving with another group of IRS employees, which is from the anonymous source says 20,000. That's right. May 15th, 20,000 employees should be let go from the IRS. That's what the closed lips are saying. The report that came out on Yahoo News 2 days ago was that it was going to be 15%, which would put you about 13,500 employees are going to be let go May 15th. That's in addition to the deferred resignation. Just to give you the flat out numbers, the IRS has a total of about 90,000 employees, and they're told to be half of that by the end of the RIF. Yes, half of the IRS are going to be reduced. You can find a report if you Google IRS reports expected loss of $500 billion in revenue. If you Google that, you'll find more of the information for the person who openly gave the information. But the person behind the closed scene that came out a couple of days, I have to find that article, but that's out there as well. Generally, 20,000 employees was their numbers. From the anonymous, from the reported numbers, it's 13.5. Total numbers of 90,000 employees to be reduced by half by the end of the RIF. So that gives you the numbers for the IRS employees. If you're working at the post office, if you haven't heard by now, 10,000 of you will be going. The postmaster just put in his resignation last night or yesterday, and is expected to hold that position until they find a replacement for him. Everybody who's not a part of I don't want to work for the administration, or I'm not for the extra stuff, are jumping ship and are snitching as they go out. Getting back to the IRS snitching, just to give you a little basis on that. The IRS has always had this open policy about people who have been immigrants who have applied for I-10 but have been using a stolen Social Security number. It is their policy that they just process the tax returns as normal. What that did was it gave them a slew of data of people who have been in the country violating their W-7 application or their immigration status if they had one. A lot of people don't know that. One of the things on if you go look up the W-7 application, it refers to crimes. Identity theft is a crime. Most of the I-10 applicants are literally submitting their I-10 application with a copy of the Social Security number from the American citizen that they've gotten through the employer or through other means and have been using it for umpteen years to file taxes so they would stay under the radar so people wouldn't look like, they were working illegally. They've been holding on to that data. The IRS holds on to all their data, team messages, emails, phone calls. They keep all that data. Well, Homeland wants access to it. And if anyone has ever worked with the U.S. Treasury, especially the IRS, they don't like to share anything. Well, they've pushed enough buttons and they've flexed enough muscle that the IRS is giving it up. So, heads up, if you're one of these people or you have friends and family who you know have an I-10 number, and if they submitted that I-10 number, that I-10 application with a social security number that they were using, 9 times out of 10, their name's about to show up on ICE's door. That is big, because I can tell you for the 13, 14 years that I've worked there, that has been the norm. The U.S. Treasury has been double dipping on the identity theft budget for I don't know how long. They've seen who the violators were. They didn't care. They processed the tax returns. They got them their I-10 number, let them go business as usual. And the citizens whose social security numbers that were out there being used would have to go through all the headache of they wouldn't even notify them that there was fraud. They wouldn't even notify them. The person would find out because they'd go to get their social security, or they would get a notification that something had been used, or they got a tax return with a balance because they showed up working at McDonald's in the middle of Kansas while they lived in New York City. So you had double income, but you don't report it, the income from New York, because you knew nothing about what was going on in Kansas. And now you end up with a bill and you're like, I barely make enough money to get by. I owe you anything. So yeah, that's how most people find out. And if you paid attention to Congress, they give the IRS a budget for that. They give for their normal operations. And then there's a budget for identity theft. They even have a watchdog. A lot of people out here talking about, oh, there's no fraud. There's fraud. I watched somebody the other day and made a comment, well, if there's so much fraud, why no one being locked up for it? Well, if you're following policy for your department, your agency, or any other government entity, and it's written, this is something they do. You're not making this up and doing it for yourself, then it's not considered a crime. It's considered bad policy, but it's still fraud, regardless of how you look at it. The IRS gets money to combat what they are actually processing normally. They don't report the information to Social Security. They don't report it to the Fair Trade Commission. They leave all that up to the persons whose social it is. They let them do the legwork while they get paid the money to combat the theft that they're actually processing. Half those identity theft W-7 applications, when they come in, say with a Social Security number, you reject it, you send it back. You could have sent it to Homeland Security already if you wanted to, and go ahead and have them processed as for identity theft. Because regardless of what status they were in the country, you committed the crime with the identity theft of taking someone's social with a job and knowing that wasn't you. That's a violation of any immigration status and the W-10 application itself. So that's the nutshell on that. But if you have friends and family, give them the heads up. That's what's coming about. If you're with the with the IRS, April 15th, May 15th, there's big chops coming. Be prepared. I've been telling you guys before. Make sure you got your documentation correct in your own hands. You got to remember, OPM is taking cuts too, so don't wait last minute and then think you're gonna. You can't get a lot of your information through email no more, because the IT department now has a policy. Anything that has your social on it, you can't email it to yourself. So you're gonna have to do a lot through OPM. Hop on it now. I think they only take phone calls a couple of days a week. It might even be worse now since they've taken cuts. Get out there, get your information, get your stuff in order. Sneak in what training class you can upskill. If you're using the federal account for the LinkedIn learning, use it up while you can. I'm telling you guys, the hammer's coming quick. They're not playing. You're going to have half of the agency by the end of September. And the first 15 to 25% is coming between April 15th, May 15th, which coincides with dates that they were giving people who were voluntarily leaving. It's happening. Don't wait last minute. As we get more information, we'll let you guys know. Make sure you guys are following, subscribing, sharing, get the information out there. If you guys have questions or concerns, feel free to put them in the comments. If it's something that's not really concerning, something I'm not talking about, I'm not going to comment on it, because neither here nor there. This is for informational purposes and to get people aware of what's going on, because there's a lot of closed mouths behind these desks and behind these agencies because they are fearful of their own status, which is fair, but we're putting it out there so you can get it and you can share it and get the wheels talking. If you work in federal government, you know that your boss is always quick. What's on the rumor mill? And usually if you hit the nail on the head in that rumor mill, they freeze up and they fold. Yeah, and you start getting information from them. This is the information you can get. This is information as we're getting it from inside various agencies, inside various contacts, news reports. We're staying on it. We're giving it to you. Again, like, follow, share, and we'll see you guys in the next video.